Okay, good morning. Is this on? I mean, for Mayor Gandam.
Yes, Madam Chair, I can hear you.
Thank you. And it sounds like my mic's on because it doesn't sound like it to me. Yeah? Yep. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the January 27th regular council meeting. It is 9:01 a.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. I have nobody registered for open mic, and scanning across the room, I believe there is nobody in here as well for that. So we can move on to approval of the agenda, please. Can I have somebody? Oh, go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is my mic on? Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one addition, please, the tree forest for new business in section 15.
That was section 15.
Correct.
Any other additions? Go ahead.
I move that council approve the regular council meeting agenda as amended.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We can move on to item 4 then, adoption of the minutes. Looking for a motion. Councillor, I am so sorry, Elliott. Would you like to make the motion? Perfect. I'm having trouble speaking already. Any additions or amendments? Seeing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And right along to item number 5, business arising from the minutes. The 5.1 council action task summary. Go ahead, Councillor. I don't know why I can't remember anybody's name today. Billingsley.
Thank you. I move that council accepts the council action task summary report as of January 13th, 2025 as information.
Go ahead.
I do have
Thanks.
a question. This document was brought to us last month, and I had some concerns about the document, whether or not it's been updated. In the last meeting, we were told by administration that this document was going to be updated and complete. It's not. So I guess my question to administration is, do they need more time? What's holding this back?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley. No, there's been a bit of a process change, but I will ensure that I attend the meeting tomorrow to make sure that it's cleaned up before the next presentation to council.
Go ahead, Councillor Nielsen.
There we go. Through the chair to administration. Sue, is this the only document that tracks projects, or is this a document that's meant to inform council? And I guess what I'm leading up to is this what informs you about what's happening with the projects, as well as informs council, or do you have a different process where these things get tracked?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, no, this is just one step in a bigger process. So when motions are made in council, we pull from the minutes into the CATs, and then it could get added. So if it has to come back to a future meeting, it gets added into a different document that then informs our agenda review committee on what's coming forward in the future, and then RFDs are created to follow up. It doesn't track projects per se because they're approved through budget. We do have a different system that Kathy set up for us this year on SharePoint, where every approved project, both operating and capital, has been put into a spreadsheet. And then there's monthly columns for updates, and project execution plans are attached to those. And we're reviewing those monthly, both at the project manager level, the GM level, and myself. And then that information will be fed into the city manager update report where I have a project section. So projects and motions are treated differently. And then some motions that stay in the CATs, they'll stay until it's deemed complete, as per whatever the motion is.
The reason I asked the question is as Councillor Billingsley said, it appears to be incomplete. So for me, as I read this document, it has a meeting date where a decision for action has been made. And I'm looking at stuff, for example, and it doesn't matter the project, but the meeting date was May of 2020. And then the first notation under comments is July of 2024. So it says to me, man, nothing has happened in a year and a half except for this one comment. And you're telling me there's much more that's going on behind the scenes that we don't see.
Correct. And a couple months back, I know we ended up opening up a bunch of projects because we believed that some had been closed prematurely. And then a review was done and we were supposed to actually compare which ones had been already presented to council and then deemed complete and closed. And I'm not sure if that has been fully done yet, but some of those motions could have been completed already, but the process we have set up is that council needs to see it as completed at least once before we close it off of the CAT so that you know that you've seen it and it's been done. So I'll do a review with my team tomorrow to make sure that we get any of those ones closed that are supposed to be.
So along that line, if I've got a notation here under comments, December 10th, 2024, this particular project was complete and closed off at the end of January. So if it's complete on December 10th of 2024, why would we wait until January to close it off?
Because it only comes once a month and council needs to see it as complete before we actually remove it from the document. We don't want to close things, excuse me, that you haven't seen yet. So you will see it today as complete because that was a day after the council meeting, the 10th. So you'll see it today as complete. And then at the next end of February meeting when this comes forward, it will not be on the list.
Thank you.
Councillor Billingsley?
Thank you. To administration, and you may have partially or completely answered this question, but I'm trying to understand the process of this all so that from when a motion is made and carried from here, how does it get to be turned green in this document? So, in other words, who then takes that information of the motion that is made, where is it documented, and then from there, how is it actioned within staff, who signs off on it, who then reviews it, and then turns it green? I guess my concern on some of these things that are sitting there, does that mean that nothing's been done? And who ensures to make sure that things are getting done?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley. So, like I said, the CATs get pulled from the minutes and pulled into the CATs document. And then the day after a council meeting, SLT meets with Ledge to go over every motion that was made. And then we assign it to a manager right into the iCompass system. So they get notifications that a task has been assigned to them. And then their responsibility is to follow up on that each month before it comes back to council. And then we do a review as well at the SLT table to make sure that we know it's been completed, yes, or if there's more information that's needed. Like I said, it's a bit of a mess right now because we opened it up and we probably should have closed a bunch of things at the December 10th meeting instead of bringing it to this one, but we'll make sure that that's done before the next meeting so there's no confusion.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, looking for a motion to approve this as information. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We are moving right along to number 9, Committee of the Whole. And we will start with 9.1, the monthly city manager report to council and the community.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, we did not have a city manager report in December because we only had the one meeting, so there's some priorities listed, just stuff that council's approved that we're going to focus on this year. We are making a significant progress on the audit, which was exciting to hear. The freeze thaw has obviously been a big concern for us and posed some challenges, but as well as some equipment breakdowns, but the team is starting to get caught up on snow removal. We've noticed, put in the second candidate forum night to be held on February 4th, and people should watch the posts on social media for that. And the school board, I believe, is joining us at this next one as well for their board nominations this year. We've reposted a number of positions, and I've chatted with the team about ones that seem to be pretty hard to fill. So we've got a report coming back to council on some strategies around that. Customer service, we did get one formal complaint in the last month, investigated as per the city directive. And then for project updates, people are going to start to know, start to see lane closures on 40th Ave while we do the cured in place pipe project to get the underground done before overlays later this summer. I have also attached to the RFD any of the projects that were 2024 and previous. Of those projects, there were 66 of them, 34 have been complete or substantially complete, which typically means that there's just landscaping or some minor stuff to complete this summer. 7 have been delayed or are on hold. 2 were canceled by council and 2 are ongoing, and there are 21 that are in progress with expected completion in 2025. We've listed all the communications that we've had for the last month. We are also going to be developing out some engagement moving forward. You'll start to see some communication strategy around moving to biweekly garbage pickup. So not saying that anybody has made the decision to do that, but we want to engage the community and then bring that information back to council later in the spring. That's about it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sue. Looking for a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Blatz.
I move that council receive the city manager report as information.
Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. Through the chair to admin. On the, under priority, Sue, number 4, 2024 year-end financial statement interim audit. Is there a reason why interim is there? Like what does that denote or designate?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen. The auditors always come in ahead of time to get prepped for the audit. If you remember at last year's audit, council wanted to meet with the auditors once they got through this interim process, and so I believe we have, in February, we have the auditors coming in to meet with council to talk about what's changed since last year, and then once they get all this information, they'll move into our audit.
Thank you. I was wondering if it had anything to do with qualified audit versus sort of, okay, thank you. The other one, under employment vacancies, you have 3 positions that have been reposted. Are we getting applicants? Are we getting applicants you're not comfortable hiring? Is it a salary situation? What's the holdup with getting those things done?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, it's a variety of things, which is why we'll be bringing a report back to council on this. There's one position that we don't pay enough and consistently get qualified people, but we can't move very far without creating internal inequities. There's another one where we may have been looking for a unicorn, so we had to rescope the position and hopefully and then another one that we moved down to a developmental level because, again, we weren't paying enough to attract the person with the right skills at the higher level. So we are doing a report up for council, and we'll bring that back as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? See none. Looking for a motion to receive this information. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And we'll move on to 9.2, the Whistleblowing Policy Annual Report.
Good morning, Council. This report provides an overview of the whistleblowing program for the 2024 calendar year. Whistleblower programs and organizations are critical components of an effective corporate governance and reflect the city's ongoing efforts to support open, ethical, accountable, and transparent local government. The city's whistleblower program provides an avenue for employees, contractors, residents, and other stakeholders to confidentially report allegations of wrongdoing, including accounting, internal controls, auditing matters, bullying and or harassment, conflict of interest, theft, unethical conduct, and contravention of municipal policies or directives and federal and provincial legislation, just to name a few. The annual cost is $2,600. The contract is awarded to Expera, which has an annual contract with a renewal date of December 1st. The whistleblower hotline provides an outlet for allegations regarding wrongdoing within city administration. And on December 1st, 2020, the hotline became available to all City of Wetaskiwin employees and members of the public to report allegations of wrongdoing. We have a dedicated phone line and a website for people to report. For the 2024 year in review, we received 3 whistleblowing complaints. Of those, so one was categorized as other, one was a conflict of interest, and one was a violation of policy/regulatory issues. The disposition of 2 of these complaints were unfounded and closed. The remaining complaint was determined to not meet the requirements under the whistleblower policy C0-050 and was investigated under the city's council code of conduct bylaw, was deemed unfounded and was closed. Happy to take any questions.
Looking for a motion, please. Councillor Elliott.
I would move that City Council receives the report titled Whistleblowing Annual Report dated January 27, 2025 as information.
Any questions? Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. Through the chair to Shelley. So with us changing and revising the whistleblower policy, were we not to have some revisions done to Council Code of Conduct as it relates to investigations and so on?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, the council code of conduct is coming back at the next meeting in Cow. I finally did get all of the changes council wanted back from the lawyer.
Thank you.
Anything else? See none. To accept as information, those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. We will move on to the fire services update, please. Welcome.
Good morning. Is this on? Beautiful. All right. This update is to present the work that has been done to highlight the progress of the fire department since 2022. Fire services has seen a lot of change in the last 2 years, from staff changes to internal program changes. Things are starting to level out, and we are starting to see some of the results and benefits coming forth from all the hard work. Some of the positives: the Russ Farmer report was completed in 2021. Recommendations were presented. Of the 23 actions outlined, 18 have been completed, 4 are currently in progress, and 1 is continually being assessed. Internal policy or standard operating guidelines, rework, specifically HR policies identified in the Russ Farmer reports. All have been removed, or all have been reviewed, and any HR related have been replaced with city HR policies and directives. All other SOGs have been reworked, are being reviewed, and have started to be presented to staff. The Alberta First Responder Radio Communication System, or AFREX implementation. Grant funding was secured in late 2021, early 2022. Funds were carried forward, and the project was reassigned and completed in 2023. Radios for fire and enforcement were purchased, programmed, and dispersed to staff, and staff training was completed. For the master plan, we have funding was allocated in 2022 but wasn't utilized. Project was reassigned and completed in 2023 and presented to council in January of 2024. This will be used for information and guidance in building out the department business plan. The training program rework identified by the Russ Farmer reports. The full-time crew reviewed the training program and notes from external fire service review completed in 2020-2021 and changed the program. It is now consistent, can be delivered by multiple members. Content and lesson plans are already developed, and meets National Fire Protection Agency, or NFPA, job performance requirements, which are the fire services industry standards that guide our work. Recruitment committee. We formed a recruitment committee in October, November of 2022 to assist in organizing and leading the recruitment drives. In 2022, only 1 recruitment drive was done in early January. 3 recruits were hired and 0 were retained. In 2023, we held 8 recruitment activities and 2 drives. 8 recruits were hired and all 8 recruits have been retained. And in 2024, we held 11 recruitment activities with 2 recruitment drives. 12 recruits have been hired and 4 have been retained. 1 resigned after college work schedule, wasn't adjusted, and wasn't able to go through the training program. External investigations. There were 4 investigations done in March of 2023 by an external company. The results of the investigations confirmed and highlighted toxic work environments and presented the ability to implement corrective actions. An increase in morale has been evident, with an uptake in attendance to training and average call number response. Sorry, and then just a correction for the recruitment numbers in 2024. There was only 6. So I read 12, but it should say 6. So 6 hired, and we've been able to retain 4. For the 2023 term positions, 3 term positions were created in 2023 as a pilot project. Weekday, daytime responses were addressed with a crew of 3. Fire prevention, education gaps were filled with this crew. Reduction of logistical burden from administration. Alleviated some of the time commitment for the paid-on-call staff. Full-time crew has taken on the management of the training program and is responsible for records management. Reduced maintenance hours required from paid-on-call staff. Full-time crew performs weekly apparatus checks, takes apparatus for needed maintenance and/or repairs. In early 2024, we hosted a practicum student from Lakeland College. Consisted of 1 student fulfilling her practicum, which included call response, day-to-day operations such as truck checks, fire prevention, education activities, training program delivery. For the 2024 full-time FTE position, council approved 2 of the 3 term positions becoming permanent. 3rd position remains as a term position. Each staff member is responsible for key portfolios. So our full-time captain has fire prevention and education. The lieutenant has training, and then our term position is logistics. Revised fire bylaw, number 2057-24. removed the need for backyard fire pit permits, decreased time spent needing to inspect backyard fire pits, improved records management, keep track of training events, develop and utilize training plans, reports are completed with all necessary information, allows us to bill for false alarms and motor vehicle collisions. These improvements all contribute to accurate data records, allows us to use data to increase efficiencies, better allocate resources and cost savings, and benefit and/or increased interagency operability with both internal city departments and external departments. Some examples of those would be FOIP requests, Aquaterra reporting, structure fires, pulling meters, anything like that where we work hand in hand with the city. Fire prevention, education, engagement programs increased. We had no data recorded for 2022. In 2023, we held 20 fire prevention, education, or engagement activities, and in 2024, we held 29. We have an increased communication, again, identified in the Russ Farmer report. We stopped the use of Facebook page to communicate fire department business, introduced Microsoft Teams for fire department communications. All fire department staff, full-time and paid on call, were assigned email addresses and added to City of Wetaskiwin email groups. Important communications are sent out through administration via email and Teams messages, and a training recap has been added to Teams after training nights for anyone who is unable to attend. The culture is changing. Member engagement has continued to increase. Mood seems lighter during training events and fire prevention education events, and we see a decrease in HR issues as well. Some of the challenges we are facing is a reduction in staff availability for responses. All paid on-call staff have full-time employment. Not all are employed within the city, which does not allow them to respond during work hours. And not all who work in the city are allowed to leave employment during work hours to attend calls. We also have a reduction in trained staff or qualified personnel. With the staff changes, the current members started without any experience or training. We've had to start from square one with the training, and it does take time. It adds extra stress on current members who are trained, with more reliance on them until we can get the others trained to a qualified level. And with that, that is complete, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Looking for a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Black.
I move that council accepts this fire services update report as information.
Any questions? Councillor Nielsen.
Yes, thank you. I don't know who these questions need to be directed to, so I'll just throw them out, and whoever wants to field them can do so. In terms of job descriptions, how many distinct positions are in the department? I know there's a number of people, but a number of those same people would have the same job descriptions. So how many distinct job descriptions would be required?
Sorry, Councillor Nielsen, we may need to take this as an information request.
Sorry?
We may need to take that as an information request.
Thank you. The HR department, according to the report, completed a satisfaction survey. And when and how was this done? And what are the results of that?
Through the Chair to Council, the employee engagement survey was conducted in Q2 2024. The results were provided to senior leadership in, I believe it was July or August, and we presented the information to employees in September.
Is there, and forgive my naivety here, is there a distinction between employee satisfaction and culture changing? And culture?
Through the Chair to Council, I think what you may be thinking is that workplace culture impacts employee engagement, and employee engagement impacts workplace culture. They're not really the same thing, but they touch on each other.
Typically, how would we measure cultural improvements? Like the culture is improving. How do we measure that?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, so the stats that we've provided, we went through our attendance, we went through our call attendance, our training attendance, the training hours, the recruitment drives, just the overall engagement from the firefighters. I can provide some if you'd like, and so we took that as well as positive feedback from our staff as the culture has started to shift and we're improving the culture within the department.
So culture shifts are measured by attendance and recruitment. But the comment here is the mood is lighter. I don't understand what that means. The mood is lighter.
So through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, so some of the feedback that we've gotten from our staff, our current staff, they said they specifically have told us that it seems like the black cloud has been released from the fire department. They feel more welcome, they feel happier, the mood, the overall mood within training, within the calls seems to be lighter.
So this question, I guess, is directed to administration in the sense that we had the farmer report come in, farmer people come in and do the report and address a number of or identified a number of tasks that needed to be looked after. How do we, you as administration, evaluate or assess progress on all of those recommendations? And I'm speaking specifically about morale and culture changing. So is administration all right with attendance and recruitment being the guiding factor or principle to say things are all going well? Like,
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that's part of the factors that play into it. If people are not happy, they're just not showing up. They don't have to. It's a paid on-call position. So that certainly does have a correlation. But there's other things too. There's participation in social club events and city events, and the fire department shows up at a lot more of those events than they used to. And we're checking back on the report and keeping in contact with chief and deputy chief just to see how things are going over there. It's no different than some other departments where we've typically had less interaction overall, where we're starting to see them come back around and attend social events with the rest of the organization.
thank you. And my last question, and maybe I phrased it wrong initially, when you said perhaps we have to take this as a formal information request. But if we are doing job descriptions for the positions in the fire department, how many job descriptions have been completed over the last 3 years?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, job descriptions have to be reviewed annually at performance review time. And anything that needed to be changed when the farmer report happened would have happened then. There's also another trigger as positions get posted, the job description has to be reviewed again. So there's a number of times that they get reviewed, but there haven't been any major changes since the report was done. And we got everything corrected.
So then help me understand, please, in the report on the end of the document, the chart showing the farmer recommendations and what's been completed, it indicates update job descriptions for all positions are currently in progress. And I guess for me, the reason I asked the question is with the farmer report coming out in 2021, it's now 2025. Is this document telling me we don't have job descriptions? What's this document? What's this document informing me when it says it's in progress then?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, we can update that. It's continuous. There are job descriptions in place. Currently, as administration had mentioned, we do review them during the performance management piece. So we just need to update the chart to say continuous because job descriptions are continuously
Thank you.
being reviewed.
Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. First question through the chair would be to Chief Coleman. You said that, what was the black cloud that has been lifted? You had said that what was the black cloud then?
Go ahead, Sue.
Happy to go in closed session if council wants details.
Okay, then I'll move on. Prior to, again, to we had issues with invoicing being done to insurance companies. Is that a problem any longer, and we're on top of that?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, yes, we're on top of invoicing.
Awesome, thank you. You had talked about, through the chair, sorry, that we have 2 permanent full-time employees plus 1 term. And I don't know if this is to administration. I thought at last year's budget that we had budgeted for only 2 positions. How is it that we have 3? Am I wrong in that?
No, you're not. Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley. Got the question through email, and I am sitting down with the team to come up with the history and the answers on that. We'll get back to council through an FIR.
Okay. I didn't send an email. Through to Chief Coleman, I guess. You talked about internal communications. Are we using the communications department as well, or is this something that the staff handles? Like when you talked about using Teams and things like that. So is the communications department involved at all with the communications internal?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, it's the day-to-day internal communications that we use, Teams and emails as well. Communications is involved within the fire department, correct?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, looking to accept, vote to accept this as information. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 10, staff reports for decision, and 10.1. Welcome, Zanette.
Good morning.
Pull it towards you. All of them seem a little quiet.
Good morning. Is that better? Good morning, Council. In 2021, the fees and charges that were all associated with the city were streamlined from several policies into one policy. This work created duplication of several policies, and administration is requesting that we rescind CS 003 and 005, and will create a directive that articulates the scheduling priorities and allocation of user times and bookings, and that will meet the service level expectations and user needs. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the City Council rescind the following policies. CS 003, recreation fees and charges, and CS 005, and associated procedures.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Looks like you're getting way easy. Looking
Thank you.
for those in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will move on 10.2, the property tax cancellation request.
Excuse me. Property tax cancellation request. I think so. The purpose of this request for decision is to request the cancellation of the remaining property taxes receivable on the property that was disposed through tax forfeiture. On January 20, 2024, the city took tax forfeiture possession of property with tax roll number 110080 per section 424 of the Municipal Government Act. The property sold using the services of a realtor to a new owner in accordance with the Act, and in order to recover the property taxes outstanding on the said property. However, subsequent to the sale of the property, there were insufficient funds received to cover the total property tax outstanding. The outstanding balance is $36,263.24. Penalties continue to accrue on unpaid taxes until the title was transferred to the city. I'll just explain this a little bit further. When a property is in arrears and we follow the tax recovery options provided to the city under the Municipal Government Act, it leads us down the road to where we sell off the property. This was one of the properties that we brought before council and got approval to appraise and then to list with a realtor and then to sell. We did sell this property based on the opinion of value provided to us by the realtor and comparing that with the market value provided by the appraiser. Even after disposing this property and selling it, there was amount still left outstanding on the tax roll. And this is because even though the property was in arrears, until the city took title, penalties continue to accrue on the outstanding taxes. Our penalties are 9% in July, 6% in September, and 15% on all outstanding arrears on the subsequent January 1st. So when you think of the effect of the penalties on this outstanding amount on monies not collected, it continues to accrue until we took title. So most of the amounts that we're asking to be written off is more subject to the penalties on the unpaid taxes. We do have two other properties now since the RFD, two other properties where the assessed value of the property exceeds the amounts outstanding. Those properties will be going to auction the next time that we have a property tax auction. However, based on assessment is indicative of market, it isn't market. It is possible that we do sell those properties as well at less than the outstanding balance on the property tax roll, but that will be unknown till the property itself is sold. However, when we prepare our year-end financial statements for 2024, there will be a provision made for this loss to show that there's the possibility of a loss. It is unknown until the property itself is sold. So we'll make a provision in the financial statements for the fact that those balances might not be collectible. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Billingsley.
I move the council approves the administration to write off the remaining property tax balance of $36,236.24 on tax roll 110080.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. To administration through the chair, your comment, Tulu, was that most of it was the accrued interest. What's the most? In other words, how much was not accrued interest?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, I could go back and calculate since the property went into arrears, how much of that is. But this property was historically one that never really brought their balance to zero. So we can engage in that calculation and bring that information back as a formal information request back to council if council desires.
I'm okay for now.
Go ahead, Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. Through the chair to Lou. So we're being asked to write off $36,000. What amount of taxes was collected after the sale of the property?
Through the chair to council, the net proceeds from the disposal of this property was $111,046. The taxes outstanding at the time of the sale was $147,310.
Was how much?
$147,310.
And the 147 was as of when we took ownership?
Through the chair to council, that's correct.
And so the penalties of 9% and 6% and so forth are on $147,000 then?
Through the chair to Councillor Nelson, penalties accrue on every year that you have outstanding taxes. This property has had arrears since prior to 2020, to the year 2020. So there's been penalties on each of those individual years up to 2020. So it's not also our interest is not simple interest, right? It's 6% on current taxes July 1st, 9% September 1st, only on taxes for that year. January 1st, all arrears. So it's not simple interest in the real term of simple interest. Essentially, it wouldn't be 30% of 147,000, no.
Okay, so now you're going to help me do my math.
Yes.
Math's hard. So if the property sold for 111 and change, the taxes were 147, we're writing off 36. Did we receive basically all the $111,000 then? Or were there other creditors in line?
Through the chair to Councillor Nelson, the net proceeds received was 111.46.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sue.
Sorry, through the chair, I just wanted clarification. Councillor Billingsley, did you want that FIR?
I don't think it'll be necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did send this question in, and I just wondered, sorry, I really am having a vision problem today. How many months or years have these properties been on our list of arrears?
Through the chair to Councillor Hilliard, I was able to go back as far as the 2020. Our taxation system will do 2020 and earlier and lump that together. We could dig through and go back several years, but as at 2020, which would be 5 years ago, this property was in arrears. The tax recovery process doesn't actually kick in until about 3 years after, so it takes about a 4-year period to go through the tax recovery process. So you can look at this as them having taxes outstanding for over 5 years.
So we have a number of people who could be in arrears now for 4 years. They haven't paid taxes for 4 years.
Through the chair to Councillor Hilliard, you could be in arrears even if you paid taxes but didn't pay it in full. So you could be in arrears with that. Also, 2 years after you do not pay your taxes, so current and subsequent years, then you go on the arrears list. And then there's options, but you still remain on the arrears list. where you could enter into a tax payment agreement with us to pay your taxes, arrears and current over a 3-year period. And we have several people in the municipality who are in that kind of agreement. However, even with that, they are considered to be in arrears. And then we have, by March 31st, if those taxes are not brought back to current, where we do have to sell certain properties through a public auction. As council is aware, we did hold a public auction last year. None of the properties sold at the auction. When that occurs, we come back to council and say, do you want to take title to this property or not? That entire process from when they go on the arrears list to where it's sold can take a 3-year period. In that period, we continue to levy taxes and penalties. If it sells at the auction, when sale is completed, that ends that process. If it goes unsold and the city takes tax forfeiture title, we stop levying taxes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have just a quick question. It's more about budget. When we apply these levies and the penalties and all that, do those ultimately then go into a reserve? Because it's not impacting our, so we look at the tax that we should be getting on that property in that year. That's where we're getting our base budget as to what's coming in, right? So any penalties, whether or not they're paid or not paid, where does the penalty amount go?
Through the chair to the chair. Penalties and interest is a revenue item in our annual budget. It does not go to a reserve.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, looking for those in favor of this motion. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my head this morning. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Welcome back, Zanette. We will move on to 10.3. Oh, it's Natasha this time. I apologize, Natasha. I just see Manluk and apologies.
All right, good morning, Council. So during the 2025 budget deliberations, Council approved Capital Charter Manluk Centre upgrade, which includes preventative maintenance tasks and other work that will be completed during the Manluk Centre's annual shutdown, which is scheduled this year from March 24th until May 5th. $52,500 of the total funding has been allocated to complete audio-visual upgrades at the Manluk Centre, including upgrades to the PA system and the addition of technology to 2 of the meeting rooms at Manluk and to the mezzanine room at Co-op Place. Recently, it has been discovered that the Co-op competition pool pump is at risk of failure. The pump is the original and has been in operation since the facility opened in 2014. The pump is responsible for circulating the water in the competition pool and runs continuously. The estimated lifespan of the pump is 7 years. In 2024, the leisure pool pump needed to be replaced after it had failed. In order to limit the likelihood of an unscheduled closure that would disrupt service levels, administration is requesting to reallocate $38,450 of the money for the AV upgrades to replace the competition pool pump. The remaining funds of approximately $14,050 will be used to complete some of the AV upgrades at the Manluk Centre. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Nielsen.
I move the City Council approves a change of scope to CC 25-52535501 to accommodate replacing the Co-op competition pool pump at a cost of $38,450. And I do have a question.
Of course.
Through the chair to Natasha. So if this is to be approved, what is your anticipated timeline to change the pumps and to have the pools down while all that goes on?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, so our plan would be to replace the pump during shutdown. The pool will be drained anyway for the tiling work, so it would be completed during that shutdown of March 24th until May 5th.
Thank you.
Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to administration. I just have a question for the user groups that use the pool for lessons and whatnot. Have they already been informed of the shutdown, and have we already accommodated the timelines
Through the chair to Councillor Blatz, actually, yes, our first communication to the public went out this morning about the closure, and we have met with user groups about the closure and how we can accommodate their schedules, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. I have concerns about through the chair, I guess, to council. I do have some concerns about the 14,000 remaining on the AV equipment. That it's not the plan that we approved during budget. My concerns are we are now dealing with a facility that is close to 10 years old. We're running into situations like this. I think that we would be a little naive to believe that we're not going to run into more. And I have concerns that we're not fulfilling the plan that was done at budget. I'd rather take that $14,000, leave it in the reserve for any unexpected repairs that may or may not be required, and at budget of 2026, bring back for this AV at that point, because the plan was for $50,000 for stuff, whatever that stuff was. We're not completing that. So I would rather have that money sitting there so we're not coming back and pulling it again, or needing to pull funds from somewhere else. So I would like to make an amendment to the motion. To say, help me here. Essentially, I would like to have the $14,050 removed from, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I do understand where you're heading with this. And I think trying to tie those two together could be problematic. Okay. Because I may support the approval of 38.4 for the pump, but not the changing of the 14. And I don't want one to impact the decision on the other. I think we'd be wiser to vote. I think we'd be better off to vote on the first motion, and if there's a subsequent motion after we determine if the 38,000 passes, then it's a separate and distinct motion than that.
And I guess because the way the motion reads, it doesn't really say where the funds are coming from, right? It's just kind of in the documentation saying they're going to scale back a project that was approved. Well, who decides that? We already said spend $50,000 or whatever the amount was, and now they're not going to go ahead and do it. They're pulling from here, but at no point do we say that's okay. We're not following the money. Unless in the motion it needs to say that it's being funded from the AV monies.
Councillor Elliott, because turn Councillor Bronco's name tag around, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It says the approved charter currently includes the following items to be completed. So the AV is in there, and audio-visual upgrades of 52.5. We haven't had, so I don't know what your concern is, Councillor Billingsley. It's already in the charter that we have approved.
Right, but in what they're saying is that they were going to scale back the AV to 14,000, I think it was 14,000. Yeah, $14,050, and use that money for the pump. The difference from the 52 to the 14.
Yes.
But we've already approved the 52. But we're not saying to stop doing, it's not just showing where the money's coming from.
Are you interested in making an amendment to the motion to either add a funding source or to make it clear that it,
Is coming from the AV, right? Because otherwise, it's an incomplete project that we've approved.
would you like to make that motion?
Amendment?
Go ahead,
Do you not believe
Councillor
it's
Elliott.
necessary?
So all I see is that we're,
Through the chair.
Go ahead, I have legislation talking
okay,
to me.
go ahead.
Through the chair to chair, if we want to make an amendment to the motion, do we go to recess and work with Councillor Billingsley on the motion?
Well, I don't know if we're done debating whether it's necessary yet.
The charter is for all of those. So if we take the $38,000, the budget still remains the same. The total cost out of the charter is the same, except it's just being reallocated, and that will leave $14,000 for AV, correct? So that's all we're doing.
And I totally agree to that, but at budget, we said we're spending 52, right? And we approved 52,
Agreed,
but it's not going to happen now.
agreed.
But where is it that we're in, where's the motion saying that we're not going to spend 52?
Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, that this scope change is telling us that we're not going to.
Do we not need, do we not need to state that?
The motion is
And
asking
if the
to,
answer is no, that's fine. I just am concerned,
I appreciate your concern. What I'm saying is the motion is to approve this scope change.
right?
So if we approve that motion, we're approving the scope change. That is your concern.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, but through to everybody. The second motion is that council approve the change of scope to accommodate at a cost of $14,000. So to me,
And that's what we would need to do, is
Yeah.
make a second
right,
motion.
and it's right,
And then that, so I won't need to amend that, and I'm okay with that. Okay.
but I do have one further question,
Of
Madam
course.
Chair, through to Natasha or Zanette. Some of the users of the pool had requested that shutdown be in the fall, like most other pools do, and we're shutting down in March to May. Way back when I was a teacher, we used to take our kids for swimming lessons sometimes during that period of time, from March to May. That was part of our phys ed program and things. So I'm just wondering why we don't follow the quote-unquote standard that other aquatic facilities use, and we're going at a different time. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, so we did explore different timelines for when the shutdown could be, and we reached out to other municipalities who do their shutdown in the fall. We reached out to aquatic vendors. Obviously, it's a specialty, so there's not a lot of vendors that we have to choose from, and we were concerned about lead times for equipment and for their staff to be able to be on site to do the work that we needed. So that's why we decided to stick with the spring shutdown, and yeah, we did meet with the summer swim club, and it will impact 1 to 2 days of their season, but we should be back up and running on May 5th. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anything else? So to the motion to approve a change of scope to CC 2552535501. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I was in favor. I just couldn't get to the mic button quick enough.
I have no idea what he said. Thank you. Carried unanimously. Go ahead, Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion. I move that City Council cancels the AV project for the remaining balance of $14,050 till budget 2026. And bring back the full project once more.
I'll just,
Sorry, I move that City Council cancels Manluk Center's AV upgrade project till 2026. Budget 2026.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Natasha or Zanette. So how will that change, according to this motion, affect happenings, events, programs at the Manluk Aquatic Facility?
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, it will just remain status quo. The AV upgrades were nice to have, but not a must-have.
Okay, thank you very
Continue as usual.
much.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
we just have a motion on the screen. So Councillor Billingsley, is this reflecting?
At Manluk, maybe we could add?
Madam Chair, if I could, and I'm being somewhat picky here, but when we signed the agreement with the county, when they gave us $4 million, part of our acceptance was that it would be called the Manluk Regional Aquatic and Fitness Center, and the regional was because the county was part of this.
I think that's not picky at all.
And I just think that we should remember that when we're making motions. I know that's picky, but at the same time, we should still recognize the fact that they did contribute. Thank you.
I agree. Okay, anything to the motion on the floor? Excellent. Looking for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Natasha. We will move on to 10.4, the Wetaskiwin Public Library Board members.
Good morning, Council. The purpose of this presentation is to provide Council with the updated list of all the residents of the City of Wetaskiwin that would like to be on or continue with the Library Board, and the list of names is presented there. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Blatz.
I move that Council approve the Wetaskiwin Public Library Board members as presented.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is just a statement. Just thank you to all of the people who applied and who are now going to be a part of our library board. Just congratulations to all those new members, and it's exciting to see our board expand again. I know that the library will be really excited to have them as new members. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. Just looking for some clarification. So through the chair to administration, when it reads here, Kathy Stephenson maintain current position, what are we saying with that? Because I understand she's currently the chair, is that correct? So are we authorizing her to continue to being a chair? Is that our role?
Through the Chair to Council, that's to maintain a position on the board because her term is expiring. Right. So it's to maintain her position on the board.
Thank you. And how does the alternate work? Well, we've named Marlon Panasso as an alternate. So if one of these people can't attend the meeting, they phone him and he attends, or?
Through the chair to council, if after one or two meetings, one or two of these people on this list cannot attend anymore or no longer can be on the board, then council's already approved the alternate to be on the board without having to come back to ask for that again.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, thank you, Madam Chair. I just to clarify as well, I did ask the question and the answer was the library board will determine the number of years that these people will be appointed for. Usually they try to go 1, 2, or 3 so that there is a continuation. So that's the library board's decision now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Excellent. So I'm calling the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. 11.1, the council committee reports in attendance. If somebody can please make a motion, go ahead.
I move that City Council accepts the council committee reports and attendance as information.
And did you have anything you would like to add?
I do not.
Okay. Councillor Elliott? Platts? Nielsen?
I do not.
Mayor Gandam?
Just happy to be here.
Me too. Thank you very much. So we do have, in the agenda, it says that there's closed session, but administration does not have anything.
Through the chair, we need voting on that motion. We need a vote.
Oh, I didn't make a motion. I apologize. I didn't go to the vote. Those in favor of accepting the committee reports as information?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. I was trying to get us out of here quicker. I apologize. So yes, there is nothing from administration for closed session. Is there anybody looking to make a motion on council for this? Right, we will move on to new business. 15.1, please. Oh, sorry, you have something for new business? Yeah.
Madam Chairman. Job descriptions for fire department.
Okay. So to the addition, job descriptions for fire department, those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, we will move to, that will be 15.2. 15.1 is the treaty forest.
Thank you. Through the chair to council, this, I've been working with the FCM group and Project Forest group and explained to them that this project was approved as part of our overall capital budget. However, they are unable to put in grant application that way, so they're looking for a very specific, very long motion of council that breaks it out. So there's no scope change, no change in the approval amount. We're just getting a motion separate from the capital budget that was approved so that they could go forward with the grant. And the whole reason that this was being brought forward was that they realized, I think a little bit too late, that it needed to be done before the application was put in. And so that's why this was walked on today. And so it is a very long motion, and I apologize, but they worked with me to say this is exactly what they needed.
Thank you. Councilor Blatz.
I move that City Council approves the Mamatausakau Healing Forest Project in the amount of $45,400, being 50% of the project cost to be funded through the Infrastructure Tax Reserve as part of the approved 2025 capital budget. City Council also approves Project Forest as the partner organization submitting the application in partnership with the City of Wetaskiwin, and that the funding allocation from Growing Canada's community canopies will count towards the lifetime contribution for tree planting within the city's boundaries from this initiative.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. I will not be supporting this motion. I just am really struggling with this coming out of the infrastructure budget. I heard very loud and clear, even this weekend, about some of the things that the city is not doing, that could be doing better, spending money in different ways, and so for that reason, I will not be supporting this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to administration. The project was part of a motion on our capital budget for $4,200, and $3,800 was going to be funded from grants. And then So this has gone from our budgeting of $4,200 to all of a sudden to $45,000. Am I correct?
No, through the chair to Councillor Elliott, the budget discussion during capital was $91,000, and the city would be responsible up to half of that. So there was a bunch of grants that could be applied for, but what we asked council to do was approve the maximum amount that we would need, and then we would work with the group to see if there's any grants that would offset it. So again, not asking for any new money. This was already approved through the capital budget. It's just being broken out as a separate motion so that that group can put forward the grant application.
And then if the grants come in, this $45,000 will be reduced?
It could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Councillor Nielsen.
I too will not be supporting this motion. I didn't support the first motion for the very reasons that Councillor Billingsley identified. It's not I'm opposed to the project, I'm opposed to the funding source. Thank you.
Anything else? Looking for a vote, those in favor of the motion as stated.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried. And 15.2, the job descriptions for firefighters.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would simply like to request a formal information request for a listing of fire department job descriptions that have been completed and those that are outstanding. I don't need a copy of the job description. I'd just like to know where we are in the process.
Is that clear to administration?
It is.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Seeing nothing else, I am happy to call this meeting adjourned at 10:18. Thank you very much.
Tyler, we can send you a link for P&T.
Thank you.
That's funny. Oh, I didn't read it. That's funny.